Next week is the election. If you follow me on social media or if you've seen my commentary on my channel, I think it's pretty clear where my political views lie. I think everybody knows I'm voting for Kamala and Tim. I just feel like I have to say my piece and do what I can. Even if I can persuade one person to vote, I will have done my job. I'm a simple person. The candidate who keeps lying, spreading hate and violence towards groups of people they don't like or don't understand is not someone I could ever support, ever defend, ever make excuses for, period. There's been a significant spike in hate crimes since 2015, and gee, I wonder why. He's surrounded by racists because he's a racist. He's surrounded by bigots, xenophobes, criminals, misogynists, and greedy, hypocrite politicians because he is all of those things. He's a narcissist dictator wannabe. They make jokes about black people and watermelon, Puerto Ricans and trash dumps, Palestinians throwing rocks, Latino jokes, Jewish jokes, not a single Christian joke. Funny how that happens. At that little racist rally, there were no jokes about white people or Christians. I mean, if you're going to tell jokes, joke about everybody, not just the people you don't like. He lies so bluntly and wants everyone to live in fear of minorities and blacks and gays. And how are y'all not tired of this yet? The people who keep defending him, how are y'all not over this by now? The Muslim ban. The Jews will not replace us. Immigrants are bad. They're bringing in drugs. They're bringing in crime. There was a bipartisan, which is the word bipartisan in today's politics is unheard of. But there was an agreement, a bipartisan agreement to do something to address the border issue. Trump told his cult followers in Congress, hey, kill that, because he needs something to campaign and complain about. He doesn't want anything to get fixed under the Biden administration because he doesn't care about improving our lives. He needs something to constantly complain about. Even while he was president, the caravan of migrants, they're coming in. Why didn't you stop it then? You were president then. During the George Floyd protests, when he was president, the things he said about black people, they're thugs, they're criminals. The same stuff he's complaining about now is the stuff he's always been complaining about, even while he was president. So the things that's a problem now was a problem when you was president. Why didn't you fix it when you were president? Like,
doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
The rhetoric has not changed. All he does is complain. He complains about people who are not Christian, and he complains about people who are not straight white men. No plan for health care after years, or the better part of a decade, trying to get rid of Obamacare.
You have long vowed to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act.
If we come up with something, we're going to do it, and we're going to replace it.
You still do not have a plan.
I have concepts of a plan.
Not a care in the world about our climate and our future. He wants to place more tariffs on China again because he thinks that'll help, even though it didn't help the last time he did it when he was president.
Now, he has this crazy notion that putting a tariff of 60% on every single product imported from China is a good idea. Let me just tell you, this man has so little understanding of tariffs, he thinks that China pays for them. This is the same guy who also thought that Mexico would pay for the wall, so there's no Mexico. I mean, back in the 90s and the early 2000s, he was a little bit coherent when he talked about trade policy, and he actually made a little bit of sense. But I don't know what happened to him. If Donald Trump is elected and he puts these 60% tariffs on Chinese products, they are all going up. All those things you buy are going up.
He complains about being shot at, but then goes and praises the NRA. Americans are dodging bullets every day, and he does not care to prevent that whatsoever, because he's taking NRA money. He is running to pardon himself and stay out of prison. He's going to do exactly what he did last time when he was president, and that is make life better for rich people. A lot of people say, yeah, but the economy was good under him. Yeah, he inherited Obama's economy, and he didn't ruin it until COVID. Y'all can look this up. It is a statistic fact. Democrats always leave the economy in a better condition than Republicans. That's just been the trend in recent history.
It just seems that the economy does better under the Democrats than the Republicans.
Trump failed to deliver on his #1 campaign promise.
I will be the greatest jobs president that God ever created.
Donald Trump is now the worst jobs president in American history.
President Trump presided over a historic net loss of nearly 3 million American jobs. The worst jobs numbers ever recorded under an American president. This is no fluke. America's economy has almost always done worse under Republican presidents. A New York Times analysis found that since 1933, the U.S. economy has grown nearly twice as fast on average under Democrats. Now, Trump's defenders claim it's not his fault that the economy collapsed under his watch. It was the pandemic. But there are two big things wrong with this. First, The pandemic recession was as bad as it was because of Trump. His failure to lead with any national strategy. Even before the pandemic, Trump failed to deliver on his economic promises. As much as he liked to claim,
I built the greatest economy ever built anywhere in the world.
It just isn't true. Long before the pandemic, America's job growth slowed under Trump. America added more jobs in President Obama's last 3 years than in Trump's first 3. Even before the pandemic, most middle-class American households saw their incomes go down under Trump. Trump's major economic policy was cutting taxes on the rich and big corporations. He promised it would result in
A $4,000 pay raise.
How did that work out? Did you get a $4,000 raise?
No!
Republicans keep claiming that if we just cut enough taxes on the rich, the wealth will trickle down. But it never works.
Ronald Reagan signs into law the largest income tax cut in American history.
Wage growth slowed after Reagan's tax cuts for the rich and big corporations. The Bush and Trump tax cuts didn't trickle down either. These giveaways to the wealthy came at the expense of investments in infrastructure, education, and healthcare, making life more expensive and difficult for everyone who isn't rich. The Bush and Trump tax cuts that mostly benefited corporations and the rich are the main reasons why America's debt is growing faster than the economy. Republican presidents have led us into the 3 worst economic crises of the last century, and Democrats led us out of them. Republicans talk about running the country like a business, but they want to run it the way Trump ran his businesses, with massive debts, a string of failures, and payouts for the folks at the top, while workers get shafted again and again. Given Republicans' track record, why would any hardworking American put their financial security in the hands of a Republican president ever again?
It just blows my mind when people make it seem like all the Trump years were so magical and great. Did y'all really forget how bad he did COVID? Did y'all forget how bad that was for everybody? Yet somehow Biden gets blamed for inflation and increased cost of living, when in reality that is a global, worldwide result of the pandemic. Listen, Linda, you don't have to like everything that Kamala says or does, because I know I don't. The war, for example. Although I've said this exact same thing many times before, maybe you'll understand it better coming from Bernie.
I understand that there are millions of Americans who disagree with President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris on the terrible war in Gaza. I am one of them. And some of you are saying, how can I vote for Kamala Harris if she is supporting this terrible war? And that is a very fair question. And let me give you my best answer. And that is that even on this issue, Donald Trump and his right-wing friends are worse. In the Senate, in Congress, the Republicans have worked overtime to block humanitarian aid to the starving children in Gaza. The president and vice president both support getting as much humanitarian aid into Gaza as soon as possible. Trump has said Netanyahu is doing a good job and has said Biden is holding him back. He has suggested that the Gaza Strip would make excellent beachfront property for development. And it is no wonder Netanyahu prefers to have Donald Trump in office. But even more importantly, and this I promise you, after Kamala wins, we will together do everything that we can to change U.S. policy toward Netanyahu. An immediate ceasefire, the return of all hostages, a surge of massive humanitarian aid, the stopping of settler attacks on the West Bank, and the rebuilding of Gaza for the Palestinian people. And let me be clear, we will have, in my view, a much better chance of changing U.S. policy with Kamala than with Trump, who is extremely close to Netanyahu and sees him as a like-minded, right-wing extremist ally.
There is a reason that Netanyahu wants Trump to win. There's a lot of people who don't support this war, myself included. But like Bernie said, like I've been saying, we have a better chance of bringing it to an end with Kamala than we do with Trump, because Trump just wants to keep making money. I just feel like because of social media, we live in this era where we're so used to only listening to exactly what we agree with and only liking exactly what we agree with, we can be a lot more picky. Like even on dating apps, right? If you see, he's short, next. She's too fat, next. Her boobs are too small, next. Like there are so many things we can nitpick because of social media. And I feel like we keep looking for the perfect political candidate and we expect to like every single thing about them. We expect to agree with every single thing about them. And that's just not going to happen, especially when we're all different, right? And we only have 2 major political systems in the United States. And if your defense for like defending Trump and voting for him is that you just don't agree with her, does that mean you agree with everything he says and does? Even all the dumb stuff he says that has to be written off as a joke later? The racism, bragging about taking women's rights away. The thing that blows my mind is Republicans are supposed to be the party of limited government. That's like the way it's always been. Now they're trying to ban books they don't like, control women's bodies, control who you love and what you do in your own bedroom and who you do it with. Like, why is the government so interested in what we do in our bedrooms and what's going on in our wombs? Like, I don't understand. Reverend Raphael Warnock has been making his rounds because he represents Georgia. And Georgia is one of those reddish states, mostly red, where the abortion ban really hit hard. And he's been trying to remind people what's on the ballot because there's already been so many women who have lost their lives because of this abortion ban. Women being forced to deliver dead babies or being forced to deliver a baby that's only going to live for like an hour before it does die. And needing an abortion to save their life, but the doctor doesn't want to do it because they're afraid they're going to go to prison, so the woman dies. All this coming from the same presidential candidate who brags about essaying women. Great. Lying about kids getting sex operations at school. Listen, I remember being a student at school. You need to get a parent-signed permission slip to go across the street to a park for a field trip. You go to the nurse with a sore stomach and you got to struggle and fight to get a Band-Aid. Like, on what planet are they just changing your child's gender? Like, let's be real, that's not happening. But he keeps saying it over and over again. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. No matter what he lies about, he gets away with. And my head's gonna explode. I just feel like, especially when I see women, when I see minorities, when I see Muslims, non-Christians, LGBTQ plus people like voting for him, it just blows my mind. I don't get it because you're advocating for your own hardships. Like, there's been so much rhetoric, so much proposed legislation to make your life harder, and you're still voting for him, and I don't understand. And then we do have plenty of people out there who just hate the government full stop and they don't trust it, period. But that's exactly what these people want you to do. They want you to be skeptical about the whole thing. They want you to shut up so they can do whatever they want and make all the decisions they want. You need to make your voice heard. Even if you don't like both options or all the options, you got to vote for the one that is the best for you and your situation, your family, the people you care about. What I don't understand is why is Kamala's every action, every word held to such scrutiny? Y'all got me doing Obama hands, like I'm pissed. But when it comes to Trump, he's always joking when he says something dumb. At this rally, bro, they said she was the Antichrist. They said that her pimp handlers are going to ruin the country, like she's a hoe now. She has a low IQ, but this man don't.
Those French fries were good. They were good. They were right out of whatever the hell they may come out of.
The fryer? The word you're looking for that means place the French fries came out of is fryer.
People keep blaming her as vice president for what Biden may have done that was unpopular as president. There are a lot of people out there, I guess, don't realize when you are the vice president, you kind of do what you're told by the president until his heart stops beating and you become president. Until then, you are powerless. You do what you're told. You're vice president. It's just frustrating because she has to be perfect because not only is she a woman, she's also a woman of color. Trump will always get a pass, though. Remember when Biden was still in the race and everybody was talking about how old he was, how he was in mental decline, and now that Trump is the old person who is also clearly in mental decline, crickets. The age issue is completely gone away. They say she doesn't have the stamina, she can't keep up with this, she's not doing enough interviews, and suddenly when she's everywhere, that's not a big deal. Even though Trump cancels all these interviews for whatever reason. Oh, I disagree with how they edited this video. Oh, I'm not going there. Leaves his supporters stranded in Coachella after a rally, shows up like 4 hours late to his own rallies. And all the people who keep saying that she has no plan or no policy, that just shows me like life really is just an echo chamber because you're just repeating what you've heard and what you've been told, because on her website, I've seen interviews of her saying what her plans are.
Donald Trump would deliver tax cuts to his billionaire donors. I will deliver tax cuts to working people and the middle class. I will enact the first ever federal ban on price gouging on groceries. Cap the price of insulin and limit out-of-pocket prescription costs for all Americans. I will fight to help first-time home buyers with your down payment, take on the companies that are jacking up rents, and build millions of new homes.
The first one I saw was in Georgia when she was giving a speech. So every time I get a comment from someone saying, oh, Kamala doesn't actually have any plan or policy, that just shows me you don't actually do your own research. You just listen to what other people tell you. They're like, Kamala has no policy. You're like, damn. Yeah, Kamala has no policy, but yes, she does. Meanwhile, Trump is not ever expected to talk about policy whatsoever. Have you heard him try to answer a simple question?
Childcare is now more expensive than rent for working families and is costing the economy more than $122 billion a year. What specific piece of legislation will you advance?
Well, I would do that, and we're sitting down. You know, I was somebody, we had Senator Marco Rubio, and my daughter Ivanka was so impactful on that issue. It's a very important issue. But I think when you talk about the kind of numbers that I'm talking about, that, because look, childcare is childcare. There's something, you have to have it. In this country, you have to have it. But when you talk about those numbers compared to the kind of numbers that I'm talking about by taxing foreign nations at levels that they're not used to, but they'll get used to it very quickly. And it's not going to stop them from doing business with us, but they'll have a very substantial tax when they send product into our country. Those numbers are so much bigger than any numbers that we're talking about, including childcare, that it's going to take care. We're going to have, I look forward to having no deficits within a fairly short period of time, coupled with the reductions that I told you about on waste and fraud and all of the other things that are going on in our country, because I have to stay with childcare. I want to stay with childcare, but those numbers are small relative to the kind of economic numbers that I'm talking about, including growth, but growth also headed up by what the plan is that I just told you about. We're going to be getting in trillions of dollars, and as much as child care is talked about as being expensive, it's relatively speaking not very expensive compared to the kind of numbers we'll be taking in. We're going to make this into an incredible country that can afford to take care of its people, and then we'll worry about the rest of the world. Let's help other people. But we're going to take care of our country first. This is about America first. It's about make America great again. We have to do it because right now we're a failing nation. So we'll take care of it. Thank you. Very good question. Thank you.
You want What the fuck are you talking about?
He can go to these rallies on stage and ramble for hours about Arnold Palmer's large penis. And yes, that really happened. Forced sex change operations at school, which again is 1,000,000,000% not happening. Or dance to Ave Maria for like 40 minutes on stage and not address a single person's question or concern. And all this while being a real life convicted felon. When I got my ballot in the mail, I had to sign the little oath, and on the checklist says you are not a felon. And it amazes me because in a lot of states you can't vote if you are a felon, but you can run for president if you're a felon. It's a cult. That's what it is. It's a cult, and they need to be deprogrammed. They keep moving the goalposts for Kamala, and it's kind of funny at this point. It's nothing at all surprising. Like, it's absolutely everything I expected. He refuses to share his medical records. Meanwhile, she does. And he wants to make it seem like her life's at risk and she can't do her job because she has allergies. She has hay fever.
According to her doctor's report, she suffers from urticaria, defined as a rash of round red welts on the skin that itch intensely, sometimes with dangerous swelling. She also has allergic rhinitis and allergic conjunctivitis, a very messy and dangerous situation. These are deeply serious conditions that clearly impact her functioning.
Oh my God! She has allergic rhinitis and conjunctivitis? The medical term for hay fever? Is there a priest on call? She doesn't have long.
She released her taxes like every president has done since Nixon. Trump is the only one who has never showed us his taxes. Yet everyone says she's hiding something. She's got stuff going on. She doesn't want us. Why is he hiding his taxes? I feel like the Trump campaign projects a lot. It's the weak and insecure people who are unhappy with their own lives, the way that their own lives turn out, and they need a scapegoat. They need to blame people. It is a phenomenon in like every country. People want to blame immigrants and minorities for all their problems. I don't understand how that logics. I lost my job. My girl left me. Women don't like me. I can't find a man. It's because of Muslims. It's because of gays. It's because of blacks. It's because of immigrants and Latinos. Like, what? That's the narrative. Non-white people are ruining this country. Do y'all really wonder why I hate Trump so much? I am not going to give respect or grace to someone who would never give it to anyone else. I know Michelle said when they go low, we go high, but I'm done with that. It's been like a decade of this by now. They're bullies. Like, they are straight bullies, dog. All that name calling, like, are we 8? We have less than a week to go to this election, right? And I just really, guys, please, if you are registered to vote if there's still time. If you are overseas, like, I've been getting bombarded with like, oh, get your absentee ballot overseas. People have been messaging me like, oh, I'm American, but I live in Scotland and I just sent off my ballot. Like, vote, guys. Y'all got to make this happen. All he does is whine and complain. Like, how does that project strength and power? And how is that good for the economy when all he does is complain and cut taxes for rich people? I don't know what the Republicans' obsession is with like trickle down economics. If we cut taxes for rich people, it'll trickle down to lower people. No, that's how the rich stay rich. Like I said, you don't have to agree with everything she said and everything that she does, but a lot of people are ruling her out without even giving her a chance. We've never seen her as president. We don't know what she'll do as president. We know what he does. We know what he says. We've seen it and heard it for the last decade. I don't know how people have this like fever dream and remember that the Trump years were great. They were not. They were also struggles, several conflicts, and we're like, shit, all those memes going around like, shit, are we about to have to be drafted in the war because we required student loans to get through school? I was like, I'm not fighting for this country, not with him. I'm not defending that dude. Anyway, I'm rambling. I just had to say my piece, use my platform to hopefully do some good, or hopefully some people who might still be on the fence. Like, I just don't understand. He has not done anything to make anyone else's life better except for the people closest to him, except for the people who can look out for him personally. There's a reason that the people around him are either calling him out as like, oh, he's unfit to be a leader. So many of them are in jail or out and on probation. Like, it's not funny anymore. A lot of people in 2016 thought this was funny. They're like, he's not going to win, whatever. Yeah. Please vote. That is it. May the odds be ever in our favor.